in Alaska, this was everyone's least favorite job, was working on the slime line. And they would sometimes have slime fights where they would be like flinging huge, long, like loogie strings of slime at each other and fish scales. And they would take pride in how bad their clothes stunk and wear them even out to parties like after the cannery. So anyway,
wow.
This is what I know about the slime line. But what I find is a curved knife like this, the scales kind of come off pretty easy. And that way you don't end up with like a lot of scales in the bag that end up on the meat. Scales are not bad, but they're kind of a pain. So, I mean, they're really pretty inoffensive. You just don't want them everywhere. And the key, of course, is to keep your knife clean as much as possible. And then they say once you kind of find the spine, you just kind of want to follow through in order to really keep the fillet in the best shape. The idea is you don't change the angle of the knife. You just have to follow through. So in other words, if you're not close enough to the spine, you just get that meat off later. But the most important thing is that you just follow as best you can. And if you follow along the spine, then you don't get the fins and crap like that in there. And see, I was able to leave the bones behind on that one. That's kind of a fairly desirable way to cut it. The belly's meat is, of course, super high in the omega-3s. So this will be one of the first things we eat, along with the skeleton, the head, and the collar, and the belly. All those parts of meat that are kind of the funkiest parts of meat, you know, that someone might look at and say, oh, I don't know what to do with, that's what you cook first. Like when I was down in Venezuela, the first part of the tapir they ate was the intestines because it went bad first. So when you have all of the people like hoarding the barbecue, make sure to give them the spine, the fins, the collar, and the head. And that way it all gets eaten. So these are the little kind of scraps of meat that we'll go ahead and get this off. This is the stuff that people make woks out of. You know, you get these nice thin little pieces. You, I guess, smoke something like that. We're not going to worry too much about getting all that off because we're going to cook that.
Nice.
In fact, we're going to cook the whole head, but rather than have the head and the collar attached, cut through the neck part, and then get the collar on its own. That way it'll cook more evenly. If you had the collar and the head together, it would like not cook that well. And while the collar meat's good, it's not good if it's slimy and raw and nutty. Of course, it's got all of the, that's where most of all the blood of the whole fish has to pass through the head. Now the gills are cut out earlier, and that definitely helps with the cleaning process because the gills retain a lot of the blood. So right now, the first things we're going to cook are this spinal part, some of these little scraps, the belly meat, the head, and the collar. Now this, we're going to package up like this, the kind of the more prime parts. The key is that you don't let it sit around for very long. You basically want to get it from this condition, and then we're going to store it meat to meat inside the refrigerator or the freezer. I'm probably going to freeze one of these bags immediately, and then have one of them in the refrigerator. And those will be the ones that I eat later this week. But if you don't freeze it immediately, it's just not really that fresh frozen kind of taste, which is of course not as good as fresh, but it's better than having a piece of meat that was pretty good until it sat in the refrigerator for 4 or 5 days, and then you decided to freeze it. So kind of cut your losses.
Cool.
If we had a big barbecue, we'd have more people, but you know, this one is kind of the prime cut right in the middle of the fish. And there it is, ready to go meat to meat.
Meat to meat. See, get some good video there.